Here's the scenario. You work from home. Today, you've got a doctor's appointment at 10:45 in the morning, and you know it takes about 20 minutes to get to the office. Can you stop working 20 minutes before the appointment and be on time, all chill and relaxed and happy? No! Obviously, it takes time to get out the door. Here's all the things I thought of. You have to gather your stuff. You have to pack your bag. You have to decide which shoes you're going to wear. And for me, you have to go back upstairs and grab the related socks. You maybe check the weather and choose a coat, pack a water bottle, make sure you have a fresh mask in your bag, have the directions loaded up on your phone, see if you maybe need to leave extra time for parking. Maybe you pack a snack knowing you're going to be hungry when the appointment is done, and on and on. And oh, and by the way, do you have your keys, your sunglasses, and that book you were going to drop at the library on the way back? You get it. You need some lead time to get out the door. Basic facts. For myself, I found more and more that I can't always guess how long it's going to take me to get out the door, to pack that bag, grab that snack, check the directions, all of that. Each time it's a little different, which means that if I'm going to do all of that right before I leave, each time I don't know quite when I should stop working and start getting ready to leave. There's always a little bit of nagging sensation there, and that nagging distracts me from what I'm doing. You know, like, should I stop working now, or should I stop what I'm doing now, or maybe now? Wait, how long is it going to get me? Right? Those last 10 or 15 minutes of work are unfocused, and they're filled with a bit of this kind of low-level agitation about when I should stop working and when I should start getting ready to go. And who needs that? Yuck. So I've taken a different approach. I split all of that getting ready to get out the door stuff in two. There's the pre-exit stuff, all of that stuff I mentioned earlier, packing the bag, grabbing the directions, the snacks, the socks, and so on and so on. And then there's the launch sequence, the stuff that can happen only right before I walk out the door. For me, I've identified my launch sequence as the following. P, make sure the guinea pig hay is stocked up, put on my shoes, grab my packed bag, and get out the door, and if driving, walk to my car. And as only someone who made an entire video about all the different ways you can use a timer will do, I timed that launch sequence. By the way, I will link that timer video in the description box below and also on the end screen, so you can just click on it at the end of the video. So because I timed it, I now know it takes me about 3.5 minutes to do all of that. Pee, hay, shoes, bag, door. The pre-exit stuff, that timing is a bit unpredictable because what it consists of can vary depending on where I am going. You know, if it's the weather's good, maybe I don't need a coat, or maybe my bag is well packed. I can kind of coast off of yesterday's packed bag rather than having to refresh it. Maybe, you know, I don't need a snack this time, and so on and so forth. You get the idea that it's just unpredictable. So now I do all of that pre-exit stuff earlier in the day, so I'm not rushing and I'm not guessing when I need to wrap up what I'm doing to get out the door on time. And since I know that right before leave stuff, that launch stuff, takes about 3.5 minutes, I can set a timer for like 5 minutes before I need to go. And that 5 minutes, you know, that extra minute and a half there, that gives me time to wrap up what I'm doing, save my document, you know, and so on and so forth. And then I can calmly go through my 3.5 minute launch sequence and leave knowing that I'm on time. So do I block out time for that other pre-exit stuff? Like, do I specifically schedule it? Generally no. I just do it while I'm on a break from work, or simply do it before I start working. And that seems to, you know, work well enough for me. And if it didn't, I would get more specific about it. I would schedule it, block time in the calendar for it. But for now, the only specific thing for me is to remember to do it before it's time to actually leave, well before it's time for that launch sequence. I figure out the snacks, I pack my stuff, I check the directions, all of that early in the day. So I just know that the launch items are at launch time, and I can stay focused on whatever I'm doing until the launch time comes. I suspect that many parents of young children do this too, or maybe some version of it anyway. Like, maybe you pack the lunches and everything the night before so the kids can just get up, eat, and go out in the morning. I'm not a parent or a caregiver, but if you are, maybe you can share in the comments below how that works for you. So this little discovery of splitting up the tasks of leaving the house into pre-exit and launch sequence is it's pretty minor in the grand scheme of things, but it has made a difference in my life. It's reduced that agitation at the end of my work block, allowing me to stay focused and therefore more productive, and allowing me to stay more calm, which is, just nicer. Calm is better than not calm. So if you want to give this a try, if that's your only takeaway from this video, and I do have more, but if that's your takeaway, that is awesome. And I would love to hear how you transition from whatever you're doing to getting out the door, whether you're going to now use my technique of splitting things up or how you implement it in your own life. But I'm also curious, can we take this little discovery and extrapolate? Are there principles or tools embedded in here that we can apply to other areas of life? Let's see. So first off, I am feeling my body sensations and letting them inform me. Now, that may sound touchy-feely, but we're putting it to practical use here. It's that sensation of being low-level agitated that I have tuned into. See, what I'm trying to do is just observe my body and let it tell me about my experience of living in this day-to-day life and bringing that to the surface. And once we recognize that agitation, we can work with it. I can breathe through it. I can maybe try to calm myself and so on. Or in this case, maybe I can find a way to let that agitation go with some practical intervention that takes just a bit of time and attention. So I ask you, what can you tune into about your day-to-day experience? Maybe it's just a little pause or a breath or closing your eyes and sensing in for a moment, or just thinking back in your day and what was just maybe not so awesome. And maybe that will give you some useful information that you can do something about. In this case, it was designing a system for how I get out the door. In other cases, it could be maybe noticing a sensation or emotion that tells you something new about how you want to craft your evening routine, for example. Or just, tuning in and letting the information that's there give us a little bit of guidance. Second principle, what I'm doing here is trading a bit of time and energy to build a new routine that can support me so that I can live a life that has just that much less agitation. I think there's a trade-off here worth engaging in. I mean, yes, of course, it takes time to build and experiment with a new routine, to get used to it. And it takes time to focus, which takes energy, to just bother with this whole endeavor. But I think the trade-off of time and energy is worth it. I'd happily expend a bit of time and energy to reduce my agitation, because I get that energy back by maybe even double when I'm calm and focused. So I ask you, do you think it might be worth your time and energy to build a routine that could reduce your agitation or some other unpleasant sensation? What in your life deserves this kind of trade-off? Where can you kind of step back and then assess and then give a bit of time and energy to designing a little system or routine that will pay you in dividends? Third, the specific tool that I'm using here is this idea of setting things up or doing things for myself in advance. I get ready and pack my bag in advance so I don't have to worry about getting out the door. Another example, I almost never cook at dinner time. I cook in advance and I reheat at dinner time so I don't have to deal with being hangry, which is a real issue for me. Some people set out tomorrow's clothes in the evening so they can just wake up, get in them, and go. So I'm curious, what can you do for yourself in advance to give yourself a boost? Maybe it's just checking your calendar each evening so you can make sure you're prepared for the next day. Maybe it's figuring out kind of what you need or what kind of mental state you need to be in, or simple as when do you need to set your alarm. Last, I think we can extrapolate from my getting out the door system to other chunks of time that might recur in the same way. Now, I've made a distinction between repeatable actions that take some of the same amount of time every time, and the more ambiguous actions whose time is less knowable, and I engage with each of them differently. It may come as no surprise to you that I know that I can stop working at 8:52 to be on time to my 9 a.m. workouts. It takes me 8 minutes to change my clothes, brush my teeth, pull my hair back, and hop online to my workout. And I know it takes me about 5 minutes to unload the dishwasher. And you know that it takes me 3.5 minutes to launch out the door. I'm not trying to be a robot here who has every second of her life planned out. It's just that I'm trying to work with what's knowable and what's only sort of knowable. if I can split things into those two categories, I can manage them separately. So the question for you is, what in your life is recurring frequently that it's worth knowing how long it takes so you can plan for it? And what in your life is less knowable that you need to leave larger chunks of time for? So there's my little routine, and I hope some extrapolations about how we could apply the principles that are embedded in there. So it turns out that getting ready to get out the door doesn't need to be the last thing you do before getting out the door. I do hope that the last thing you do before clicking away from this video is taking a moment to tap that like button. Tapping that like button lets the YouTube algorithm know that you enjoyed this video and that it's worth sharing it with others. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.